Naraka stood before the god of the universe, his head bowed low, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the weight of God's eyes upon him, piercing and all-knowing.
Naraka!
God's voice echoed, deep and resonant, filling the vast chamber.
You brought a visitor, an earthling to the heavens.
Naraka's breath hitched for a moment, but he kept his composure.
Yes,
he replied, his voice steady, though his mind raced. Why was God bringing this up now?
I see,
God said, leaning forward slightly on his throne. The light around him seemed to dim.
And the point you needed to prove was proved.
Naraka nodded.
Yes, it was.
The creator nodded slowly.
I am glad for it,
he said. Then his expression grew serious, the air in the room thickening.
I need your people for a specific task.
Naraka raised his head, curiosity flickering in his eyes.
We're at your disposal, Your Majesty,
he said, his voice firm. God's eyes bore into him, unblinking.
The apes,
he began, his voice low and grave.
They are causing havoc. The farmers cry out to me. Their crops are destroyed, stolen before they can even harvest them. They are left with no food for the rest of the year.
You are watching the Tales of the Savannah. Subscribe and be part of the tribe. Now let's get back to the story. Naraka's jaw tightened. He had heard whispers of the apes' destruction, but he hadn't realized how dire the situation had become.
I need your people to go in there and make sure this year's harvest is a bumper harvest. I need prayers of thanks, not anguish.
Naraka bowed his head again, understanding the gravity of the mission.
It will be done, Your Majesty.
As he turned to leave, a flicker of pride stirred within him. God could have chosen any other god or goddess for this task, but he had chosen Naraka. The trust was not lost on him. That night, Naraka appeared in a dream to Shumba, his most trusted warrior. Shumba stood in a field of golden wheat, the wind brushing against his face. When he saw Naraka, he hesitated. Are you here to ask for Paka? He asked, his voice cautious.
No,
Naraka replied, his tone firm.
I am here for you, Shumba. There is a problem that you need to take care of.
He explained the situation. The apes, the destruction, the desperate cries of the farmers. Shumba listened intently, his expression hardening as the weight of the task settled on his shoulders.
You must take Paka with you. It will be good for him to be out there.
Shumba's brow furrowed. But
there are no buts, Shumba.
Naraka interrupted, his voice sharp.
He must go out there and be useful. Shumba, this is a mission from the Almighty himself. We cannot fail.
Before Shumba could argue further, the dream faded, leaving him alone in the darkness. He woke with a start, his heart racing. The mission was clear, but the danger was real. Shumba felt excitement rising in his chest. They would not let Naraka down. The apes were no ordinary creatures. They had evolved, their intelligence rivaling that of humans, but they answered to no gods. They were wild, unpredictable, and dangerous. Their leader, Babara, was a force of nature, vicious, violent, and impossibly strong. Under his command, the apes had become a plague, sweeping through villages like a storm. They left nothing behind. Crops were trampled, storerooms emptied, and animals slaughtered. Dogs in particular were their favorite targets. The villagers lived in fear, their prayers filled with despair. Shumba gathered his people, his voice urgent. We have been given a task by Naraka, he said, his eyes scanning the group. The apes must be stopped. They have terrorized the innocent for too long. This ends now. This year's harvest depends on it. The warriors let out a fierce cry of agreement, their spirits ignited by the promise of battle. But as they moved to prepare, Shumba turned to one figure in particular. Paka, he said. Paka straightened. Yes, father? You will be coming with us. Paka's eyes widened slightly, but the surprise was quickly replaced by something else, determination. He nodded. Thank you, father. I won't let you down. I will prepare. Shumba watched as his son turned and walked away. The way he moved, the way he carried himself, it was different. There was a steadiness to him now, something deeper than before. Maybe Naraka had changed him after all, or maybe the real test was yet to come. Lulenga swam swiftly, his heart pounding. He had to see Akina. He couldn't be late. But just as he was about to leave, Mwamba appeared, blocking his path. "I know what you've been doing," Mwamba said, his voice low and serious. Lulenga froze. "What do you mean you know what I've been doing?" Mwamba's eyes locked onto his. "You've been meeting with Akina. I thought we talked about this, Lulenga," Mwamba said, his eyes narrowing. Lulenga's heart slammed against his ribs, but he kept his face neutral. "No, I haven't," he lied. Mwamba scoffed. "Don't insult me, Lulenga." He took a step closer, lowering his voice. "Kitapo saw you, and she followed Akina into the village." Lulenga's breath caught. His entire body went rigid. "What?" His voice barely came out. "She followed her?" Mwamba nodded grimly. "Yes. She's been investigating for some time now. She knows her mother is alive. She hasn't figured out yet that Akina is her mother, but trust me, she's close. She's been asking for the elixir to confirm what she suspects." "And what did you tell her?" "I told her it will take me a week to prepare." Lulenga sighed. "Good. Yes, I am going to see Akina. I have to see her before my long trip into the ocean. There is something important I need to discuss with her." Mwamba stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You're playing a dangerous game, my friend, one that will not end well." Lulenga met Mwamba's eyes. "I know the risks, but I have no choice. Keep Kitapo busy. Make sure she is not following." With that, Lulenga turned and swam away, leaving Mwamba behind. He moved quickly through the water, his mind racing. He wasn't ready to tell Kitapo the truth. Everything was happening too fast. As he approached their usual meeting spot, Lulenga paused, scanning the area. The coast was clear, no sign of Kitapo. He took a deep breath and surfaced, his eyes searching for Akina. The sun hung low in the sky over the village of Makuru. Jabali, Kosana, and Zuberi stood outside Chipo's hut, hammering and laughing as they fixed the door Jabali had broken the night before. "What did you say happened to this door again?" Kosana asked, raising an eyebrow as he held a plank of wood in place. Jabali grinned, shaking his head as he animatedly retold the story. "Chipo rang the bell just to test it. I came running like a madman, burst through the door, and nearly took it off its hinges. She just sat there, knitting, as calm as ever. That girl..." The men laughed, imagining the scene. Zuberi chuckled, wiping sweat from his brow. "She's clever, that one. Takes after her father." Inside the hut, Akina was busy preparing dinner. The fire crackled as she stirred a pot of stew, her mind elsewhere. She glanced at Chipo, who was sitting nearby, knitting with a focused expression. "Chipo," Akina called out, her voice a little too sharp. "Can you please check the coals from time to time? Don't let anything burn. I just need to go to the river quickly, and then I'll come back and serve dinner, okay?" Chipo looked up, her sharp eyes narrowing. "Why do you want to go to the river?" "We have more than enough water, Mother." Akina froze for a moment, caught off guard by her daughter's question. She forced a smile, her heart racing. "Well, you can never have too much water," she said lightly, brushing off the question. Before Chipo could probe further, Akina grabbed an empty water clay pot and hurried out of the hut. She paused outside, where Jabali and the others were still working. "Jabali, I'm going to the river," she said, her voice calm but her eyes avoiding his. "I'll be back before you know it," she added, already walking away. Jabali looked up, smiling. "Okay, darling. Be careful." Kosana watched her go, then turned to Jabali with a sly grin. "Well, it seems your wife loves to go to the river these days. I thought I saw you and her at the river the other day. You looked cozy together. I always say it's good for a relationship, for a couple to keep the spark alive. I envy you, Jabali." Jabali's smile faltered. His heart skipped a beat. "Yes, it is good to keep the spark alive," he said slowly, his mind racing. "And which day did you see us at the river?" "Because we do go there often," he lied, forcing a laugh. "Just the other day, the day before yesterday, I think," Kosana replied casually. Jabali's heart turned to stone. The day before yesterday? That was impossible. The last time he had been at the river with Akina was after the hunt, when he had returned with the other men. If Kosana had seen her there after that, then she hadn't been with him. The realization hit him like a spear to the chest. Akina had been at the river with someone else. He swallowed, forcing a casual nod as if the conversation hadn't shaken him to his core. But his mind was racing. Perhaps Kosana was mistaken. Perhaps he had confused Akina with another woman. Lovers often met in secret, but not Akina. That was impossible. As Kosana and Zuberi continued chatting, Jabali's thoughts spiraled. Akina had been acting strange lately, rushing off, distracted, secretive. And now this. Was she meeting someone? The thought made his chest tighten. He forced himself to focus on the task at hand, hammering nails into the door with more force than necessary. But his mind was elsewhere, plotting. If Akina had secrets, she would be careful. If he confronted her now, she would find a way to cover her tracks. But he had to be wise. He had to wait. He had to set a trap. Meanwhile, Akina hurried toward the river, her heart pounding. She glanced over her shoulder, making sure no one was following her. She reached the riverbank and set the clay pot down, her eyes scanning the area. "Lulenga?" she whispered, her voice trembling. There was no answer. The only sound was the gentle rush of the water. Akina's heart sank. Had he changed his mind? Or had something happened to him? Just as she was about to turn back, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Lulenga, his face tense, but relieved to see her. "Akina," he said, his voice low. "I wasn't sure you'd come." "I was held up. Family stuff," she said. "You wanted to meet. I'm here. Speak." Lulenga studied her, sensing the tension in her stance. "Yes, I did. Thank you for coming." She nodded, wrapping her arms around herself, as if shielding herself from him. "Have you decided when I'm meeting my daughter?" she asked. Lulenga hesitated. "While I was waiting for you, I was thinking." He paused, searching for the right words. "It will have to be soon. She's asking questions about you, Akina. She's desperate to meet you." Akina felt her breath hitch. "She's been asking," she whispered. "What has she been asking?" "She's been searching for your identity," he admitted. "But I need to be ready. I have to explain some things to her first. Give me 3 days. You will meet her then, right here. Same time." Akina's mind spun. What would she say to her daughter? Would Kitapo recognize her? Would she even want to see her? And deeper than that, a darker fear gnawed at her soul. What exactly was Kitapo? She had never truly understood what Lulenga was, what his kind were. And now their daughter, their flesh and blood, had grown up in his world. Was she even human? She shuddered at the thought. What if she looked different? What if she had given birth to a monster? She stared at the water as if it held the answers. Lulenga cleared his throat, breaking the silence. "Akina," he said, his voice suddenly serious, "I called you here to ask a favor." Akina turned to him surprised. "A favor?" "A very important one to me." She studied him warily. "Go on," she said cautiously. Lulenga shifted as if bracing himself. "I'm under a lot of pressure. My people need an heir." "And Kitapo," he exhaled, rubbing a hand over his face. "She is a girl." Akina's brow furrowed. "And?" "They won't accept her as my successor. My people demand a son." Akina blinked. "And why are you telling me this?" "They are urging me to marry," Lulenga admitted. A sharp pang stabbed through her chest. She wasn't sure why she cared. She had no claim to him anymore. And yet, the thought of him with another woman twisted something deep inside her. She forced a polite smile. "Congratulations, then." "No," Lulenga said, his voice firm. "I don't want to marry Akina. My life is complicated enough." Akina's pulse quickened. "Then what do you want?" Lulenga hesitated, and then, without pretense, he looked straight into her eyes and said, I want us to have another child." Akina's breath left her in a rush. Her mind blanked. "What?" she whispered, as if she had misheard him. "A boy, this time," he added, as if that explained everything. She stared at him, dumbfounded. For a moment, there was only the sound of the river, the distant rustling of trees. "Lulenga," she said slowly, as if piecing the words together. "The audacity of you to even ask me that." He flinched slightly at the fire in her voice. "What is it with you men and babies?" she snapped, her mind flashing to Jabali's conversation about having another child. Lulenga snapped, jealous. "Who else has been asking you for a child?" Akina scoffed. "That is none of your business." "Akina," Lulenga said, taking a step closer, "I know our first child, Kitapo, was complicated." "Complicated?" she repeated, her voice rising. "Lulenga, I don't even know why I came here." She shook her head, her hands trembling with fury. "How dare you even ask me that?" "Akina, wait," Lulenga said quickly. "I didn't mean to—" But the words died on his lips. She was gone, vanished into the trees, into the night. Lulenga stood there, watching the place where she had disappeared, feeling the sting of her rejection settle deep in his chest. Perhaps now, he feared, he had lost her forever. Lulenga's mind replayed his conversation with Akina like a haunting melody, each word cutting deeper than the last. He shouldn't have asked. The moment the question left his lips, he had seen the hurt in her eyes, the fury, the betrayal. He had overstepped, pushed too hard. He hadn't even given her the chance to meet Kitapo, and yet he had selfishly asked for another child. What was I thinking? He had let his desperation cloud his judgment. The pressures of his kingdom, the looming war, the council breathing down his neck. He had been reckless. Now he feared he had lost her forever. Guilt pressed on him as he approached the towering structure before him. Ziva's castle. The saltwater kingdom loomed large, its shimmering towers carved from coral and encrusted with pearls. The currents around the stronghold pulsed with energy, the guards stationed at the entrance standing tall with tridents in hand. Lulenga had always admired the grandeur of Ziva's realm, but today he had no time to appreciate its beauty. He was here to speak of war. Inside the castle chambers, the moment he stepped forward, Ziva rose from his throne, his eyes gleaming with familiarity. A warm smile spread across his face. "It's good to see you, old friend," Ziva greeted, bowing his head slightly. "What brings you all the way here to salty waters? Getting tired of those fresh, refreshing waters?" He grinned playfully. Lulenga smirked despite himself. "Trouble on the horizon, my friend." Ziva's smile faded, his expression growing serious. "The fish people?" "Yes," Lulenga said grimly. Ziva exhaled sharply. "We've heard about them as well. Their numbers grow by the day. We've already begun fortifying our borders, making sure they do not cross into our waters. But it won't be enough, will it?" Lulenga shook his head. "That's exactly why I came here, to speak with you about an alliance. We must strike first. If we wait, they will overrun us. They are no longer hiding in the shadows. They are growing bolder, stronger, and with each passing day, more villages fall. We cannot afford to be next." Ziva's jaw tightened. "It is good that you have come, Lulenga. Too many have ignored the threat until it was too late. My spies tell me the fish people are capturing entire villages and turning them into warriors. They are not just attacking, they are recruiting." Lulenga's stomach turned. He had feared as much. "Then we must rally every able-bodied mermaid and merman to fight alongside us. We strike before they become unstoppable." Ziva nodded in agreement. Then a flicker of thought crossed Lulenga's face. "I heard you had a successful fight with the hunters on the shore," Lulenga said, narrowing his eyes slightly. Ziva smirked. "Yes. The snake people called for aid and we answered. The land hunters did not see us coming. We crushed them swiftly." Lulenga's lips pressed together in thought. "Then perhaps it is time we ask for a favor in return." Ziva's brow lifted. "You mean the Snake Queen?" Lulenga nodded. "She owes you a debt. If they fought alongside us, we would stand a far greater chance in this war." Ziva rubbed his chin, considering. You are right. I will visit her. Her people have just come from war. Their numbers are not as strong as before, but I will ask. It is worth a shot. Lulenga felt a sense of relief for the first time in weeks. The snake people were formidable warriors, fast, cunning, lethal. If they joined the fight, their odds would improve drastically. This war, it could be won. Ziva clapped his hands together, breaking the tension in the air. Enough with talks of war. Tonight, we drink. His voice boomed through the chamber, the weight of war temporarily forgotten. Lulenga smiled, though his mind remained restless. The battle ahead would be ruthless. Blood would be spilled. But at least for now, hope was on their side. And as he raised his goblet in a silent toast to the coming storm, he knew one thing for certain. This war would change everything. And that, my dear tribe, brings us to the end of yet another thrilling chapter in our mermaid, lion, people and witches saga. But the tides of fate are far from still. God has given Naraka a mission. His people must neutralize the apes, a task from the Almighty himself. Jabali has learned that Akina has been meeting someone by the river, and it isn't him. Will he uncover the truth? Meanwhile, Lulenga approaches Akina with a request to have a child. This time, he wants a son. Beneath the waves, in a kingdom adorned with pearls and carved from coral, tensions rise. Lulenga and Ziva deliberate on the war ahead. Lulenga proposes an alliance with the snake people. Ziva weighs the idea carefully. He must seek an audience with the Snake Queen. The tides are shifting, alliances are forming, and betrayals lurk in the depths. What happens next? Stay tuned as the story continues. A heartfelt thank you to Angel for joining the tribe. I see that you subscribed through PayPal, and I was touched to learn that you've already sent your monthly contribution. Your support means so much to me. I wish I knew how to send a message back on PayPal, but maybe someone more tech-savvy will teach me. Welcome to the tribe. I'm so glad to have you here. Want to support the channel and become an even bigger part of our tribe? You can join for as little as the cost of a coffee each month. Your support helps me continue creating the content you love, but of course, just having you here is already more than enough. Thank you for being part of this journey. To those of you who have already joined the tribe, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are truly the heartbeat of this channel. And as always, thank you for watching our story, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time in the Savannah.